Hey you guys, tonight I wanted to talk to you about living detached from your adult child. Sometimes that detachment comes, it's your choice, and sometimes it's your child's choice. Either way, it's never easy. So I wanted to talk about a few thoughts I have on that. For those of you that are new here, my name is Sally Harris, and I help desperate moms of adult defiant children who have taken a bad path. And these moms, such as myself, I walked this path for over 10 years, and these moms basically lose their own identity and basically kind of put their own life aside. So I help the moms regain their own life using different strategies and techniques, and so to provide less anxiety and peace and hope. So I will put a link to my discovery call below. If you're interested, if you are a mom that is struggling with their adult child, I'd love to hear from you. So as far as living detached from our adult children, now we know that we love them unconditionally through the highs and the lows and the mountaintops and the valleys, right? I think a lot of times us moms have a lot of unmet needs, and sometimes we kind of put that on our kids in regards to our need to be needed, which is human nature, right? Our desire to nurture someone, which we've raised, most of the time, we've raised these kids since birth. And so we have cared for them, taken care of their every need. And then it feels like a big slap in the face when they want nothing to do with us, or maybe it's a situation where you have to do some tough love and take some time for yourself, and kind of remove yourself from their situation. So we have a desire to see a healthy child, right? We put all this work and hard effort into raising these kids the best that we know how. And, that's what we're looking for, is we're looking for a child who loves us back. And not to say your child doesn't love you, because I know it can feel that way at times, but I also believe, majority of the time your kid still does love you. They are just going through a time right now that is beyond probably what they ever even dreamed that they would be involved in. So what we do is we keep this mental picture of what we thought our child was going to grow up into being, or especially a situation where we never thought they'd ever be in. So what do we do when that child rejects us? Well, I love this. It says, in dealing with our estranged children, we still tend to look within ourselves, and we ask ourselves what we did wrong, and we obsess over every interaction and question and how we could have responded differently. And if you're a mom going through this, I know 100% of you feel that way, because there's been conversations, arguments, whatever, with your child that you wish you could A, go back and replay because you said something that you shouldn't have, or B, you were speechless, you didn't know what to say, you wish you would have said something, or even that the fact that you just wish you could do just a do-over, right? But at the end of the day, we have to remember that we cannot control people. So we cannot control our child's decisions, right? Talk about that all the time. We do have influence over our children, growing up, absolutely. But at the end of the day, we're not a potter. They're not clay. We don't get to mold them exactly how we want them. But we neglect the fundamental truth of the fact that we can't control them, because we still think up here, hey, if you're picturing them as a toddler or a younger adult before things went crazy, that's, at least for me, that's what I had always done. I would picture the younger years when you see all that innocence and, you had no issues and you just crave for that, right? But we can't rely on our children for our happiness. Not even our kids that are doing well. That's the biggest thing, is we can't rely on them, because it really is putting a big burden, not a burden. Well, it depends. I don't know if I'd call it a burden, but we're putting a lot of weight on their shoulders that's not their responsibility. So what do you do if you have this child? Well, if you are estranged from your child, take some notes here. There's 4 things that I think are crucial. And I know I have some moms that are dealing with this as well. So really examine your own feelings and your thoughts and jot them down. Journal, figure out, ask yourself, what does it feel like? What does it feel like when attachment hurts? What are the thoughts that you're thinking? Like, what are the emotions? And write those down. because we know that there's often underlying emotions underneath actually what you're showing, okay? And ask yourself, how can you begin to think differently? Because it's okay to feel it, and it's okay to have a down day and to sit in it for a while, the depression and all of that, and just to be just in the sit in the pit. But the problem is we get in there and we can't get out. And so I truly believe when I'm having a rough time, I give myself a day. Give myself a day, no judgment, try not to be hard on yourself, and give yourself a day to just sit in it. And then once I sit in it, I have to get up. Because years ago, it would have ended up with several bottles of wine and probably unhealthy food and just a really bad situation. And it wouldn't have ended after a day, right? So it's crucial that you take mental note of that. You just don't want to sit in it too long. And the second one is be with others and love them, but don't look to them as your source of happiness. Because otherwise, I think we end up kind of trying to replace the child that we're missing with something or someone else. It's okay to replace the time that maybe we would have been doing XYZ, especially if addiction is an issue for you, the mom, because that is the crucial time where you have to have a replacement. You have to, instead of drinking, you have to do something else. Instead of drugs, you have to do something else. But that is not, it shouldn't be a replacement for your child, your whatever you're doing or whoever you're hanging out with, or even your other children. So keep a close eye on that. And then number 3 is to learn to be alone and be okay with it and not be lonely, like to really enjoy your own company. That took a long time for me too, to actually enjoy being alone and just in quiet. I used to always hate quiet, and I had to have music on. I had to, have something going on all the time. And once you learn to just sit in it, just to sit in the quiet by yourself, it's actually pretty peaceful. And then the last is quit blaming yourself for the state of the relationship with your child, because you didn't and couldn't control the outcome. So why are you beating yourself up? And I know that's easier said than done. A lot of this stuff is easier said than done. And until you've lived it, it may seem real simple. It may to someone on the outside looking in, but until you've lived it, the stuff is hard. But it can be done. So I love this. When we are not attached to any outcome in our relationships, then we can be free and happy. When the state of our internal life is more important than our external circumstances, that's when we have peace. And if you're a person of faith, that also is a huge, huge factor, as you know. So just to keep those ideas in mind, what to do, but I think it's really important. Journaling is so important because it may seem silly and stupid, and why am I wasting my time writing this down? And it may not even be for today, but when you go back a week, a month from now, and you can look at how you were feeling and what your response was to certain triggers and things like that, you can see the growth that you'll have. So that's the cool part of writing things down and journaling on a daily basis. So I hope that helps someone today, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.